Our first real fall cool down is moving southeastward at a very quick rate. I've been talking about it for a week now, and it's finally here with frost and freeze alerts as temperatures are set to go down into the 20s and 30s into portions of the Dakotas. But behind it, we've got a big storm brewing next week. I have everything you need to know in this video. Alright, you're taking a look right here at some of the visible satellite imagery from the end of your day here on your Friday. You can see front piece number 2 is back here into portions of the Midwest. It's what's bringing the surge of cooler air and the freezing conditions tonight into portions of the Dakotas and upper Midwest. But here along the East Coast, that's where we've got that initial front that was here. So let's go ahead and play out what's going on with the system. This is a pretty weak front overall in terms of rainfall. It did initially have that severe weather in the plains. That is no longer, but what it is going to combine with to produce more rainfall is what's left of Tropical Storm Philippe as it moves past Bermuda and heads towards the northeast. This is Saturday early morning. You can see the rainfall kind of along the line of the Appalachian Mountains here in the east. You can see Philippe set up to move towards the north and into the northeast as we go into your Saturday. So here you go, waking up Saturday. You're kind of wedged in between two systems in a place like central Massachusetts, portions of Connecticut. You've got the front to your west, and it's starting to intensify just a little bit as it pulls up closer to the main piece of energy. Then you've got Philippe coming in from the south and east. Once those two meet up, we're going to see some pretty considerable rainfall, and eventually this is going to merge into one complete low-pressure system as this makes its way across portions of the northeastern United States as well as New England, and it's going to swirl around just north of the Great Lakes into portions of southern Canada for us here. Very hefty rain totals for us, especially over portions of Maine, portions of Vermont and New Hampshire as this swirls around. You can see maybe some lake effect snowbands trying to swirl around on the back end of this, but overall the chances for that have gone down. But what I can tell you is here is the chance for a solid 2 to 4 inches of rain. This includes portions of eastern New York, and then that secondary band over here with Philippe into portions of Maine. So all in all, a good chance for at least an inch of rain in most of the northeast out of this system. Now another thing is that secondary cold front I was telling you about that's on the back end of this system. It's bringing freeze warnings. This comes from portions of the Dakotas, portions of far eastern Wyoming, and then we also get this into most of Nebraska. So, and this is why your Saturday morning lows diving on down in those blue shades below freezing. Some spots well into the 20s here into portions of Nebraska, even though you're further south from Canada, that cooler air is just going to be intense there. 40s going all the way as far east as the Ohio Valley and pushing towards the southeast. Tracking your temperature anomalies with this fall cool down, you can see in the east for your Saturday, we're going to be basically about 10 degrees below average if you go anywhere from the plains eastward to the Ohio Valley as well as the southeast. Meanwhile, we're going to see things flipping in the pattern with temperatures getting about 10 degrees above average here across portions of the west as we head again into your weekend. And that's going to continue to, this pattern flip is going to continue to persist as we go towards next week. So playing this out, here we go. Sunday night going into Monday, keeping it cool, below average conditions with chilly nighttime and morning lows in the east. And then this really persists even as we go towards Wednesday. This is Wednesday morning. The remnants of that low-pressure system, which will still be sitting over portions of southern Canada, will keep temperatures about 5 to 10 degrees below average here in the Great Lakes and in the southeast as we go towards the middle of next week. But we are going to see a southerly flow increasing behind that, and temperatures will be as much as 15 degrees above average here back into the south-central plains. So really just flipping things on and off and all around here. I cover all types of weather and long range here on One Nation Weather, so go ahead and subscribe. But let's move on to the next graphic now. This is your 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Looking at things getting a little bit cooler than average in the plains. This is going to be because of our next system and more heat developing behind that. So really every time we get a system, we get a brief cool down and then the heat builds behind it. We don't really get an extended period of cool air, and we haven't seen that all summer, and it looks to overall persist in that manner. But you can see the way that dry air really surges into portions of Texas. We're going to have a pretty strong trough build into portions of the southern part of the country next week. What this means is increased rainfall along the east coast, and let's talk about that now and play that out on the models. This is the European model for the next 10 days. We've got this system pushing along towards the west coast, and I'll draw that out in a minute, but here's what's left of that front. This is as we go towards your October 9th, so we're starting a new week at this point. This is Monday, clear across the central part of the country with some of that warmth building back up with 60s, 70s, even some 80s. And then we've got two low-pressure systems that are going to move into the mountain west off the west coast. See how they kind of merge into one. This is as we go towards Tuesday, October 10th at 2 p.m. Very strong system there. Just a very classic low-pressure look. This is a cyclone-ish look as this pushes on into the Mountain West again on your Tuesday, and eventually this is going to become a new low pressure system over central parts of the United States that's going to work its way east and potentially wreak some havoc late next week. You can see that mess. This is composite reflectivity, so you're not going to see any sort of snowfall, but trust me, in the highest elevations here in the Mountain West, we will see some of the snowfall out of this system as we go towards your Wednesday of next week. As we go towards Tuesday and then into Friday, so a week from today as I'm filming this on your Friday the 6th, Friday the 13th, I know it sounds like a bad day, right? A lot of people, I'm worried about the Friday the 13th vibes, and it's looking like we might have two low pressure systems near each other and combining into one. On that day here, as we go into your afternoon in the southeast over the Ohio Valley, this looks like something that we would see in the spring for a severe weather setup. And this is just as we leave summer and into fall. We have the ability to get severe ingredients around. This is just like spring. It's just the opposite time of the year. We're heading towards winter instead of warming up, but we still have enough energy to get these ingredients northward. And I wouldn't be shocked if we could get some severe weather. And the Storm Prediction Center is already hinting at this in their day 6 through 8 talks for us. We're not seeing any sort of 15% risk being put down by them, but what we are seeing is them discussing this in the text already, that we will have a trough developing. And this could be a very potent system, or combined massive systems, with one coming off the Gulf of Mexico that I'll tell you about in just a minute. Now, the Euro model, the next 10 days of wind energy in the United States. First of all, again, you can see the low pressure system we've got right now just twisting around, doing some spins over portions of southern Canada for the next several days. And eventually, this piece of mid to upper level wind energy here coming off the west coast is going to meet up with that. And again, that's when things are going to turn interesting late next week. You can see that pushing into the Mountain West and the west coast as we head towards your October 10th. So this is as we're going into your Tuesday of next week. But here we go, Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday, and this wind energy is going to continue building into portions of the southern plains as well as it works its way out of the Four Corners region. Remember, this wind energy is kind of behind where the actual front is, so the actual front would be already out here in the southern plains. And look at how we get this classic U shape that we get with a lot of dips in the jet stream and these troughs that develop. This is the sign of a pretty potent system, especially if we start to see some of the yellows get together there in those deepish purple shades. That's when the winds are really potent in that area, and that means a lot of wind energy, which means the potential for very dangerous storms. And as that continues shifting east, I would watch again as we go towards the end of your next week. Yes, Friday the 13th, maybe even into your October 14th. I would watch that area of energy as it continues strengthening, combining with the old one here along the east coast. This could be a problem, but I would definitely be aware of the chance for severe weather here from portions of Texas and the southern plains, all the way on up into the Midwest and heading towards the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. So essentially, most of the eastern half of the country, I would certainly be having a question mark there in concern. Now, in the area of Gulf, and this is an area of Gulf moisture, and you're not seeing much of it right now. No, this is not going to be a tropical storm or hurricane likely, but what this is going to be is a tropical disturbance. So we're going to have something here as we go towards the middle of next week. This is Tuesday afternoon. You can see definitely beginning to see some of those yellows, those oranges, indicating some of the heavier precipitation pushing out of portions of the southwestern Gulf, and eventually it's going to make a run here towards the Gulf Coast. Some of these areas in the southeast actually need a good bit of rain, especially towards the Arklatex region. This is going to mostly skirt past there, but of course that on-land system could hit you there. But I want to play this out. Here we go to our Thursday afternoon. Seeing this system push towards portions of Florida, the Gulf Coast, yes, maybe clipping at least portions of Louisiana. And eventually this is going to really combine up with that on-land system. But this is going to help to produce some very hefty rain totals here over portions of the Gulf Coast. Messy precipitation and some gusty winds here as we head towards the end of next week as well. So really looking to be an active pattern towards the end of next week, and I would be monitoring that very closely. But for now, in terms of your current U.S. drought monitor, again, the worst drought that we have in the country right now is over the Arklatex region, especially portions of southern Texas and Louisiana. But the drought is all the way along the northern tier and into portions of the Midwest, and I want to refresh your brains about this. In my latest winter forecast, or my first one actually, El Nino always makes things drier normally across portions of the northern tier. I would watch out for that drought to intensify this winter. But anyway, that's beyond the point of this video. Go ahead and like and subscribe to support the channel.